Hello, hello, hello. Do say where you're tuning in from. We know we have an amazing international audience. I think Lucy's visiting most of your countries over the next coming 3 or 4 months, from what I hear. There is no part of the world that's left untouched by Lucy Brazier. We would love you to say hello. It's so wonderful to connect with you properly. And so say hi, tell us where you're tuning in from. Tell us where you're tuning in from.
Yes.
And we have a really fabulous. Hi. Hey.
Nice. That's early for you, my friend. And Singapore too. I mean, really. Well, Singapore, I suppose, we're at about 5 o'clock in the evening. It's not so bad. But really, wow, what an amazing international audience. And the numbers are going up and up and up.
Yeah. We love that. We're so happy you're here.
We really are. And we have 1,000 of you pretty much signed up for this afternoon. I think that's
Yes,
amazing.
I think just over 1,000 had signed up by the time we came online today. And we'll be sending the recording to anybody that's not able to join us right now. But we are so pleased to be here with all of you. So thrilled to be here with all of you, and so glad and so grateful. I have to say, you do have to take a moment when you're hosting or being part of a session like this, just have a moment of gratitude to really acknowledge everyone that's coming together in this shared space, shared energy, and joining together because of one reason. We all share a passion for this industry, this profession. We all believe in it so deeply and so committed to ensuring it has the profile and the acknowledgement that it so deserves. And there is something very, very special about that, I have to say. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I think everybody, good evening from Nairobi. Hello. I have never been to Kenya. I would very much like to go, very much. Well, I want to introduce our incredible panel. And I think you probably all know, certainly Lucy and Bonnie, and perhaps me too, but I'm going to introduce two amazing women. And I wanted also just to share a little bit about what they both mean to me. And Lucy Brazier, as you know, OBE for services to this profession. She is a CEO, founder, author. She is probably one of the most extraordinary trainers this profession has ever had the privilege of being, I suppose, being in her presence when she's training, just extraordinary. Lucy is also somebody who is unbelievably generous and so open and kind-hearted, so non-judgmental. And just being around Lucy, I think if you share her energy, it has the most calming, insightful, and I think there is very few people like Lucy, and I'm very, very grateful to know her. She also has a very, very wicked sense of humour, for those of you that got to know her a little bit. And then obviously we have the amazing Bonnie Low-Kramen. And I think Bonnie is to the States what Lucy is to Europe, and Bonnie is also somebody that deeply understands this profession, having supported the amazing Olympia Dukakis for so many years, and beyond that has gone on to publish critical books. I have to say her last book, Staff Matters, deeply touched me. I really resonated and had experienced a lot of what Bonnie wrote about. And if you haven't yet grabbed both those books, do. We'll share the links with you after today. But Bonnie is also somebody that has an extraordinary story. Those stories of Lucy and Bonnie's are not mine to share, but they both have overcome extreme adversity and live a life in service of this profession. And Bonnie is somebody who lives and breathes passionately the elevation of the EAPA and business support profession. And again, hugely generous. Bonnie is the most extraordinary speaker. I was honoured to sit next to Bonnie recently in a panel in London. And the way that Bonnie captivates a room, holds attention, and isn't afraid to say the things that others might be afraid to say. And that deep level of courage is something that I find incredibly inspiring. And you know, she's also a Jewish woman that has had to cope with all sorts of I would imagine, real challenges that I certainly haven't had to cope with. And I have deep respect for her. And I just wanted to humanize my introductions a little bit and just to say how lucky we are to share this space with both Bonnie and Lucy today. So thank you both for giving up your time so generously. Time is our most precious resource. It's our most valuable resource. And the fact you've both given it up for this profession today, I think is just testament to who you both are. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Lucy.
Just love
Thank you so
working
much.
together, the three of us,
Yeah.
don't we?
We do.
We do.
Email saying,
That's our
let's do
secret.
this. Let's go. Let's do it.
Do this. Let's do this. Thank you. Lovely, lovely.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more. And I am very, very keen for us to launch our first poll, please, Anna. So we've got some polls today because we're going to share some intelligent data with you after today's session. We've only got 3 for you to get in touch with, be part of. But I would just love for everybody, if it's okay with you, to all please contribute. Please contribute to the polls today. Your view and your opinion matters. Your view and your opinion matters. So please, we can see lots of you taking part. Thank you. We deeply appreciate that. We just want to know what matters to you most today in your work. We want to really get a sense of that so that we can respond and marry our energy to what's mattering to you most right now. That's fabulous. Well over 100 of you have already responded. Keep them coming. Bonnie, I don't know how you're going to keep up with this when I end the poll, but hopefully you might. Hopefully you might. We've got some great questions.
We hear from people about, sometimes it's about schedule
and we
flexibility.
can't wait to answer them. So when shall I end the poll?
Yeah, let's do it.
But well over 150 responses. Bonnie, your tie's getting a little bit of attention today. I have to say,
I see. Swan's Design. I was at a conference lately, and this was the most different thing. They're made of from men's ties, and they're custom done. I'm obsessed.
Beautiful.
Kind of obsessed. Swan's Design. I highly recommend her. So I don't see the results of the poll.
Let me share those now.
Okay, let's see. We're hearing all kinds of things from around the world. So
can you see those?
No, I can't.
You can't see those. Okay, why is that? Why is that?
With
polls,
so I've shown end polls, show results, that kind of thing.
I have done that. I don't know why that's not coming up. Anna, can you help me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And if we can't, we should move on. But, we hear things like it's flexibility. You can also put it in the chat.
Lucy,
schedule flexibility, money.
Click view details. I'll pop out for you and Lucy can read a few out. If not, I can do that.
I would absolutely love to do that, but I have just completely lost my whole screen of being able to see Bonnie and Lucy. I don't know why.
Oh my goodness. I have the chat. If you open up the chat, her work being valued, communication, respect.
Goodness me, how fantastic. I
Environment,
feel like
teamwork.
Yeah, it's so good. I couldn't see the results either, but you know what? To me, it's so obvious, and it would be good just to know maybe the top 2 or 3 that came through.
Yeah, Anna, if you were able to share that,
Yes.
that would be brilliant. I've obviously had some sort of technological malfunction here this afternoon, so sorry, everybody. We'll get those to you.
Absolutely fine.
What's clear is that it's not the same for everybody, right? That's that we can't assume that it's right for the one thing that's important to you is definitely the same thing that's important to somebody else. But everybody wants to have their
Anna, what's coming up
work
for you the most critical?
I'm seeing a lot of communication, appreciation, purpose, being efficient, being valued, being respected. This is coming up a lot. Being seen, respect, adding value, collaboration. I'm seeing a few times.
Amazing.
I could go on. There's so many good responses.
That's terrific.
And we'll share that. We can share the poll properly. I can now see you both, at least. I can now see you both.
So, okay.
But that's a bonus. Well, I've got a question I'd love to ask you both, Lucy and Bonnie, because we need more optimism and hope than we have ever had before, because that is that is going to be the thing that carries us through a hugely complex global environment right now. So I'd love to ask Lucy, can I ask you first, please? What's the most surprising or hopeful thing you've seen recently in the administrative profession?
Three, and I'm going to do them really quickly. The first is a new piece of LinkedIn research, which says that assistants are doing 30% more strategic work. I think that's really exciting. The second is a new report that's from the American Society of Administrative Professionals, which is looking at how assistants are using AI. It isn't just about that, but there are some really amazing stats in that, and I'll talk about that later. And I think the third thing is the rise of collective power. And what I mean by that is that assistants are stepping out of isolation and they're stepping into their power. So there's no more waiting to be seen, but they're really making themselves visible collectively within their organizations. We recently started a network for assistants who run administrative teams within their organizations, and we are now at over 600 businesses signed up for that. And that to me is really, really exciting, because it says that they're starting to understand that they are SMEs in administration, they're subject matter experts in administration, and that they have their own team, their own department, and they can work together just like everybody else to make sure that they are seen for the excellence they provide to the organization.
Well, if that doesn't give you a lift, I don't know what will. And I will just speak to AI. You have the most amazing course that I know is already sold out for the upcoming course, and I think sort of coming shortly, but you are now running that again, aren't you, Lucy? For anybody that's interested in taking an AI course, I cannot recommend it more highly. We'll make sure we share that link as well after today, because yeah, it's brilliance at its best. So Bonnie, I'd love to ask you the same question, if that's okay.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes. And I really had to give a lot of thought to this, because there are a lot of things to point to. I think the reality is that our profession is still dominated by women, and that social media has been such a great support to the entire administrative community. Essentially, Lucy Brazier, Lucy Chamberlain, our posts are working. And you know how I know? Because more and more assistants are having their voices heard in writing, on commenting, posting of their own, all these books that are being written. All of that takes gumption and courage and confidence. And I see more and more executive assistants feeling truly confident in themselves to stand up and speak out about what they feel is important. And I think social media is a real plus when it comes to that. I think that is a really hopeful thing that I see. And then, you know, Lucy Brazier posted last week about the assistant in New Zealand who had $100,000 settlement from bad behavior in the workplace. Now, while the bad behavior is not a good news story, the good news is that people are being held accountable more and more for bad behavior. And I, for one, see that as a very good thing.
I think that is fantastic, and again gives us lots of hope that change is possible. And for me, I think there is a well-known saying in amongst perhaps sort of particularly female circles, that if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. And I think what I am particularly enjoying and what I'm feeling and hearing is that there is a channeling of the anger and frustration in a positive way, which is through action, collaboration, through bringing leadership into conversations. And to your point, Bonnie, not being afraid to go and have the conversations that need to be had to create the change that is so required. This is a really important question, and I think it came a lot through when we asked you all what questions did you have today. What inspired you to keep what inspires you to keep doing the work you do, especially in such challenging times? And Bonnie, let's go to you first.
I have always been aware that the issues in play are so much bigger than me. And so when there would be those challenging times, days when you just want to give up or go home and cry or go in the bathroom and just pull out your hair. And I've been there. I know all of you have, and probably everybody on this call can relate. I would think to myself, this is bigger than me. And that I had to just try one more time. one more time. I love the work so much that what kept me going was that I have something burning to give. So I just have to try again.
Your pain is being used as your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something like that.
And Lucy, to you.
It's very similar, I think. I've seen the cost of women underestimating themselves. And I keep doing what I'm doing because I really want to dismantle the system that made them believe that they had to. I think for this profession particularly, it's a profession when I talk to the women out there of women who serve. And I think we need to change the way that we are seeing assistants from a position of servitude to a position of service, and it's very, very different. So our assistants are servant leaders, and I won't be happy until we've got to a point where they understand their power, because they are some of the most powerful people in their offices. So every time I'm thinking I'm tired, I talk to somebody who's done something absolutely amazing and who is breaking through and making change at their companies, and I think, actually, who am I to say I'm tired? These people are living and dying this every day.
Right.
So onward.
Yes.
Actually, I heard a great line the other day, which any of you are welcome to use. I said to a dear friend of mine, you know, the subject of retirement came up because I live in Florida after all. And I said, you know, maybe I should think about it. And he said, Bonnie, you can't retire. You can't retire from who you are.
Wow.
Oh, feel free to grab that one. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting idea, huh?
That's amazing. Amazing. I absolutely love that. And it is important to remember as women that you are not broken. You do not need fixing. There is not a cream in the world that's going to sort out your problems. It's for us to agitate for the change that we need and create action. And I think confidence is coming up a lot. I'm still hearing a lot around lack of confidence, and actually it isn't just contained within the administrative profession. It's contained in lots of the rooms that I'm going into to deliver talks and things at the moment too. And I'd love to understand a tool. I've got a couple up my sleeve, but a tool that everybody on this call can use, an easy tool to help build their confidence. So Lucy B, let's go to you first.
I think in terms to build confidence in how they are showing up, you mean? Or in, yes. For me, for me, so much of the confidence comes from understanding what's going on around you and from understanding that you're not sitting on the outside of it. You want to position yourself right at the heart of what's going on. And to me, so much of that is about the language, I think. So for me, I always used to have a little book whenever I went into a meeting, so that if there was a word that I didn't understand or a phrase I didn't understand, I would write it down, and then I would go away and I would learn it, so that next time when I was sitting in the meeting, I knew what it was that I was talking about. And I think over a period of time, that really helps you to grow your confidence.
I love that. Thank you, Lucy B. And Bonnie?
Yeah, it's one thing, you know, we can tell people, be confident, you're wonderful, you have to just feel more confident. It only works if it comes from the inside out. And as the three of us are writers, so the tool that I find most helpful with my students, with the B2Ers on the call, I know you've used this, is to put that job description in writing. Because the interesting thing that happens when it starts going on for 3, 4, 5 pages, and you can put it on paper, look at what you actually do every single day with its data. It's the data. And if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I do that, every word is true. If you do that, I know that assistants are all about being truthful and accurate. And no, I don't support 7 people. I support 8 people. You know, then that gives confidence from the knowing. from the knowing from the inside that it doesn't even matter what other people say, because you know it as sure as you're sitting there.
Yeah, let's just have him put your hands up, or put your little virtual hands up if you've been told just have more confidence in yourself. I mean, and did it work? No, it's an inside job, as Bonnie's just said, right? We're seeing lots of hands going up. Just have more confidence in yourself. And I think for me, there's three things. Every single client I'm going to see at the moment is looking for you to problem solve. They are looking for you to anticipate. They're looking for you to horizon scan. They want your views, opinions. They want to understand not what the problems are. They want to know what the solutions might be and how to become more efficient and more productive and more culturally healthy as a business. There's three little tips for me, and I think I try and remind myself of this every day, and that's courage, compassion, and competence. Small acts of courage are incredibly powerful for self-esteem. It might be the tiniest thing, giving somebody a compliment that you're stood next to, that you're grabbing when you're grabbing a coffee in the morning. It might be going and asking for a coffee with somebody in your organization you've never spoken to before. It could be putting your hand up for a meeting. It might be suggesting a streamlining of a process or a system. It might simply be going to talk to your CEO or sharing some views on some things that you could see might really improve the efficacy of the company. So courage is one. Compassion is another. And if we were all able to practice more compassion, the world would be a much better place. And we know acts of service are in your DNA, but I don't see it so often towards yourselves. And what I mean by that is, how are you taking care of you? How are you resourcing yourself? How are you making sure that you are starting from a platform of I'm okay, so that you can serve effectively? And then the third that I really wanted to highlight in this, and I think essentially both Bonnie and Lucy have touched on this, is competence. Learning is power, and learning, that ability to be able to share information from a place of knowing, is so powerful. So listen to the podcasts, go on the online trainings, share what you've learned. There's an amazing girl in my team who every time she listens to a podcast or goes on a new webinar, she'll email me what she learned in case it's of use to the business. And can I tell you something? It's almost always of use to the business. So those were the three things that I wanted to share. And it looks like both Lucy and Bonnie wanted to say something.
Oh, I just think that's so powerful to frame it like that. And I think courage, and courage is a word, is something that assistants are, but they just need that final push to get them over the edge, to actually raise their voice. They've got to a point where they understand what they want to say. They know how they're going to say it. Come on, you have to be the change. We can't do it for you. We can sit here cheering you on from the sidelines, but you've got to go do it for yourself.
Yeah, could not agree more.
What the thought that was going through my head was, all of what you just said was true. However, the people on this call know, and we all know, that not all managers are like that. Not all managers do want your opinion. And when that happens, that's the thing, when we have to call upon that inner strength to, at BTUA, I put up a slide that I've been using from day one that says assistants often know better. You actually know better. That is a short-sighted strategy for leaders to not. Why would you not want your opinion with 20 years experience? But that's about them, not about you. So know that it's not 100%. It's going to be messy. So but everything you said, Lucy C and Lucy B, is spot on. We need to do a better job training managers, is what we need to do.
Yeah, you do have to find your allies, and you can't look for love in cold places, because it's always going to be very, very chilly there. So yes, of course, if you have a very difficult executive who's not willing or open, I absolutely deeply appreciate what Bonnie says. We're not asking you to knock on closed doors, but if the door is ajar, there is your opportunity to open further. When you're coaching assistants, and both of you coach in different forms and guises on a daily basis, whether it's through your writing, whether it's in your classrooms, whether it's in your books, what's the one thing you're really noticing right now is a barrier to potential, to success? Bonnie, did you?
Shall I go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this just happened the other day where an assistant who has 25 years experience shared with me that she did make a significant error, a mistake. And I was an assistant for 25 years. There's no assistant I know who can have a career and not blow it big time once in a while.
Oh, come on, I've made a million mistakes. Have you?
A million. I mean, that still make me, you too, Lucy B. Of course we have, nobody's perfect. And these managers aren't perfect. And for this particular assistant, the manager kept bringing it up.
Oh.
She owned it. She apologized for it. And he kept bringing it up, which aided her confidence, aided her trust, at their trust. And so you ask, what is the barrier? The barrier is when we feel, oh, that's competence, and then something like that happens, which is such poor leadership, but yet it totally undermined her ability to function. So then she would make more mistakes, and so it was kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so the antidote to that is the conversation, the honest conversation. I had coached her to go to her executive, to have their one-on-one and say, listen, we need to talk about that event. You need to know that I intend to never make that mistake again. But it is, I don't know. I'm wondering if the reason you keep bringing it up is because you don't trust me anymore. Can you please let me know, is that accurate? We need to call this out. Why do you keep bringing it up if it must still be a problem? That's how assistants can help their managers be better ones. That's what I see. That's like a small, that's a story that I think has bigger implications.
And it's also having that empathy, isn't it, in that moment for yourself and the other person, is that clearly for that person, they haven't processed what happened. And there needs to be a conversation in order a resolution can be found. That person feels perhaps they didn't express how frustrated they felt at the time. And through expressing it, everyone gets to move on.
That's why everybody on this call was writing communication. Barbara Collins is asking in the chat, did it work for her? And it did work for her. She did have that conversation, but it was hard. And 25 years experience, and she goes from being here to all of a sudden being, feeling like she knows nothing. That's not okay.
And that's why including is asking yourself, is this an opinion? Is it a fear, or is it a fact? And so for me, when I have those moments of real self-doubt, or I have a message going on repeat, I will ask myself, Lucy, is this a fear? Is it an opinion, or is it a fact? And if it's not a fact, how can I let this go? Because ultimately, if it's an opinion, what other people think of you is none of your business, as long as you're not hurting yourself or anyone else. And if it's a fear, that's something to be worked through. There's some work to be done, right? And I always say, make mistakes, just make new ones. Lucy B, what are you noticing?
And the reason that I was looking like I was being hit over the head, because it's like choose one. It's just, for me, I'm writing every day. I set myself a task at the beginning of the year to write every day on LinkedIn. And it kind of was, but then every time I come up with ideas, they're going on the notes on my phone. And, I'm about 15 days ahead now of myself, which is really great. They're all programmed in. But there is so much to say at the moment about how assistants can step into their power and really the things that are holding us back from success. The first one, I think, is that organizations still do not understand the power of this profession. And I think they don't understand how to use you. And to me, it's so obvious. It's business 101 that assistants are going to save you time, and time is currency. And it's the most important currency that there is right now, quite apart from the fact that you're also protecting your executives from burnout because you're organizing their time properly. And businesses just just still aren't getting it. And I don't know quite how we get that through to them. We need to find some major magazine or whatever who's going to do some research. I don't know. I'm working my way through it anyway, trying to find out. It definitely needs a rebrand, this profession, so that people really understand exactly what it is. Secondly, I think we're still not looking at skills and competencies. We're still talking in terms of job descriptions, and very often they don't line up with what it is that assistants actually do. And until we get that bit right, businesses are never going to manage assistants like they manage everybody else. Everybody else in the organization has skills and competencies and understanding as to what excellence looks like, so that they are able to achieve something rather than just kind of grumbling along and not having clarity. I spoke to somebody earlier today who is at the lowest level in their organization, and every assistant in that organization, and there are over 1,000 of them, are at that level and can't get above because they won't give them skills and competencies so that they can go and train on the skills they need to get into doing what it is that they need to be. And I think the third thing is, we really need to show up and be the change. And I said that earlier on today, but I am still seeing huge swathes of assistants that aren't understanding how this profession is changing, and that it's moving from being reactive and task-based into being proactive and strategic. And there are assistants sitting in offices who are going, I don't care, I want to keep doing what I'm doing, and doing the bare minimum, because they've been there forever. And the way that they are showing up is spoiling it for everybody else who's wanting to drive this forward. So I'm not quite sure how we fix that. And that sounds very depressing. But actually, I think if you're in an office where you do have people like that, all you can do is to go and show your genius, show your brilliance, show what this role can look like, so that executives look and go, wow, if we had a team that were her or him, we would be so far ahead.
Yes, and always remember that actually shining your light gives permission for others to shine theirs too. It doesn't mean you're dimming someone else's opportunity to step into their power and their light. And I'm talking a lot at the moment to the clients that we're hiring for about assistant job descriptions. And to your point, I'm saying to them, okay, so great, I can see this, but this person's key objective and outcome is not diary management. What are the key objectives and outcomes? How are we going to know this person's been successful after 6 months? And starting to get them to visualize, okay, what is the direction of travel? What is the key objective and outcome of this role? And that is starting to change the way that a lot of our clients we work with think about these roles, because as you say, it's not a transactional list of duties. There are strategic capability to completely change the outcome of productivity and so performance, and most importantly to most organizations, profit, through the effective use of their assistant community and their administrative community. And it's really important for all recruiters to be challenging job descriptions when we're taking them, because that is a starting point for a different form of communication and conversation. Let's talk about.
May I, Lucy, can I want to insert something here. I posted this on LinkedIn yesterday. I think it's appropriate. Times of change are times of opportunity. We all lived through the pandemic, so we're now past that, but it really threw the whole profession, the workplace, into the air like a deck of cards. And now there's a new story that, at least in the United States, 15% of HR professionals quit last year in 2024. That is, and I don't know if it's the same way in the UK and other places in the world, but that's huge. It was the largest number of people quitting of any job category. So that's going to be creating gaps and an opportunity in companies to fix this thing. If there's anything that's an indicator that something's broken, it's that. And why are they quitting? They don't feel like they have their voice, a seat at the table, a place for advancement. Amazing that it has a lot of similarities to executive assistants, except we're not quitting. We're not going anywhere. HR doesn't see that they're quitting. So if that's happening at your company, anybody listening on this call, listening to the recording, you have opportunities at your company to look for the gaps of where there needs to be improvement. And we already know you're super smart and creative and resourceful. Raise your hand and say, I think I have a couple of ideas about that.
Yes. Absolutely. And genuinely, our clients are asking for that. They're asking for creative problem solving. They're asking for critical thinking. They're asking for emotional intelligence. They're asking for people that are looking to be additive in whatever they are capable of bringing. And you can look at, there's a great skills finder, guys, called the VIA. It's free, and it's called VIA Strengths Finder. Go and do that, because you will then know, okay, these are my 5 or 6 zones of genius. How do I use those as my platform? How do I use those strengths to lean into my capability to bring more of my potential to my role and to be more visible? And I think it's very empowering to know what our superpowers are and where we are most happy in our work, so that we can use more of that, because that's contagious. Lucy B, go.
Yes, I was just going to say that there's an amazing article in Forbes today about how businesses are moving to skills-based hiring, and that it's about the human skills. And there are 10 major businesses, including Walmart and Microsoft, I'm trying to remember some of the others, who put money behind the initiative, but where you can go and you can look and see the skills that organizations are needing for different types of role. So brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'll send you a link.
We'll get all of these links captured. Please don't worry. We'll get them all captured and shared with all of you, because I know a lot of you saying, where are the links? Where are the links? Don't worry. I wish I could multitask as effectively as some of you do, but I can't. I've just got to do one thing at one time. I've learned that, so I'll get all of those to you, I promise. Lucy, Bonnie, have we got another poll that we wanted to pop in yet? Am I too?
Well, no. If we're going to talk about money. Could we talk about money?
We are going to. Well, I mean, I know it's your favorite subject. There's a very good reason for that, because it needs
whichever
discussing.
Subject you want to go to next.
Let's go money. Let's talk money, because I do think we need to be having this conversation, and women especially need to feel comfortable talking about finances. And I have actually got a little website for everybody after this about how women can become more comfortable talking about.
I mean, the reality is we have a wage gap that still exists between women and men in the world, despite some people saying, what wage gap? There's no wage gap. We have this profession dominated. Right, that's not what the data says. So Anna, if you could launch the poll, if we could try, and if this one doesn't work, we'll just bag the poll.
Let's give it a go. Come on, we're brave. With an act of courage.
Oh, this one. Okay, so Anna put up the one about AI and future skills. So that's
don't worry, Anna.
We'll do this one.
We'll roll with it. We'll roll with it. Okay, so we're going with AI skills. How secure do you feel in your job skills right now?
Yeah, do you feel like there's a ton to learn? We're ranking them. 1 is that you're not feeling very confident at all, and 5 is that you're feeling very confident that you've got this. You're a champion.
Got a lot sitting at 30, around that 3 mark. So sort of somewhere in the middle, a little unsure, I'd describe that as.
So, AI is pretty new. It's still a toddler, I think, running around. Or what do you think? It's not very old at all. So this was about this issue was going to be about planning training and committing to that, and understanding if companies have IT departments, but are we finding a way to train the people behind the keyboard how to use this stuff? Is it happening?
It's only 39% of the workforce that have had any training at all, 39%. And having said that, what's so exciting is that assistants are leading the way. It's the assistants that are the biggest job family of adopters on this. And of course they are, because it is changing the way in which they are doing their work. And to me, I'm so excited. Last week, I have to say, I was in, where was I last week? Rotterdam.
Belgium.
I was in Belgium and I was in Rotterdam just before that in the Netherlands. And I was doing a presentation on AI and the impact that it's having on the administrative profession and how it takes you into being more strategic. And the day before, ASAP released their State of the Profession report for 2025. So the people who were part of that got the absolute gen on what was going on. So AI adoption, firstly, has almost doubled in 1 year, 53% of administrative professionals. are now using it daily, and that's up from 26% in 2024. Copilot usage has surged from 13 to 43%. And of the top 15 skills that assistants were asking for and saying they wanted to develop, AI takes the top two first positions.
Yeah.
So AI for workflow optimization is number one, and AI for writing and research is number two. So technology is now dominating the skills development agenda for assistants. And,
Yeah.
you know, I know that it's very much like when the internet came in. And if you're old like me, you'll remember that, where your businesses sat there and we went, do we want to do this? No, we don't think we do. It's not going to be secure. And let's develop our own intranets and see how it goes. And then Google came out and they all went, oh my goodness, this is going to fundamentally change the way that we do work. And so, you know, for assistants, when they lose things like spending hours on email management, on calendar management, on data entry and management, on document drafting and editing, on meeting transcripts and summaries, when you get rid of all that stuff, it's going to free up time for you to become absolutely supersonic. And the other thing that I would say to you is that the use is more with people who are more senior. So it's a 65% AI adoption for the people who are in leadership roles as assistants. This is specifically for assistants, but only less than 40% if you're lower down the food chain. So to me, I think, you know, it's looking at the time it's going to save you. It's looking about how much more valuable you're going to become, and understanding that 70% of executives think that those people with AI skills are going to become the most valuable talents that they have got. And, you know, from that report, there was one line that really stuck out for me, and that is that for employees, AI raises the bar and breaks the career ceiling. Now, for us, we haven't just got a glass ceiling, we've got a cement ceiling in many cases. And I think AI in the end is going to be the thing that takes us through that glass ceiling and gives us the career we want, because it's not about tech, it's about impact. And this is going to allow us to be so much more impactful.
I took my very first job description from when I went to, or a rollout line. We went to meet a CEO of a big real estate investor, and his first requirement or desire, he said, I want an assistant that can come in and transform this organization because of their understanding of AI. That's the first time that's happened, and that is not going to be the last. That's going to be more and more and more. And I felt immediately very excited by the opportunity this is going to present the admin profession. Just to Lucy's point, I think it's going to be the first real chance we've got to smash through that ceiling and start to demonstrate a different capability for organizational success.
Yep. There's a lot of interesting stuff on the chat on this subject. One of the things I want to say to everyone listening is that AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, these need to be part of your resume. These need to be visible on your LinkedIn profiles. If you know it, I'm not telling you to lie. I'm telling you to learn it, and I'm telling you to advertise it, because as Lucy C just said, that people are looking for it. I see a lot of resumes. I'm sure my, you know, the Lucys do too. We have to include it on there. Victoria is raising an issue that and Lucy B, I know you know about the World Economic Forum saying that EA jobs are going away. And that's hurting. I know it's going to make her head explode. It's causing problems among companies. That's why EAs need to be verbal and vocal to your leaders about your value. There was a recent a professor from Harvard who I was just hearing a podcast with her, and she said the single most important thing for every employee to make sure happens in, you know, given the remote, virtual, hybrid job, you know, work schedules these days, is to make your contributions noted. We need to let people know that you're working your tail off and what the results are, what's the impact, as Lucy B said. Yeah, like the World Economic Forum did not do us any favors, because we know they're wrong. They're getting their data from the wrong places. Lucy B, you probably want to address this, but you know, for every great thing that's happening, we are getting some pushback. That's expected. We need to know better. Assistants often know better. That's where we need to go to IT and say, we need training that's specific to us. not to scientists, not to different departments. Like, that's the problem with generic training, is it's not specific to administrative professionals. That's why we need to stand up, speak up, and show up to tell them what the reality is. Stick with the data.
I
My
absolutely
goodness.
couldn't agree more. Lucy, I know that you're going to have something to add to that.
Yeah, I feel like you need to understand it's co-pilot, it's not autopilot. And for all of you that are thinking that it's going to take the job away, please, please, just no more than the internet was going to take your job when they said that was the case. And as for the World Economic Forum, well, they came out saying that you were going to disappear. And when we talked to them about where they got their data from, they had asked the opinion of the top 300 businesses that they worked with. So it wasn't based on data, it was based on the opinion of the top 300 companies that they worked with. And those people had probably read the articles in the Wall Street Journal that were based on Bureau of Labour Statistics data, which, quite frankly, the amount of, they've literally, Bureau of Labour, can I just do this? I'm sorry, I have to find this thing to show you, because it's going to make you all laugh so much if I can find the screenshot that I took. Somebody told me last week that they have just redone the thing for the, it's still calling it secretaries, by the way, still calling you all secretaries, but the things that they were listing included faxing. I mean, I'm trying to find this list, but my eyesight's not good enough to find it on my phone right now. But I took a photograph of it as I was presenting. Oh, here we are. Secretaries and administrative assistants do routine clerical and organisational tasks. They arrange files, prepare documents, schedule appointments, and support other staff. They typically do the following: answer telephone and take messages or transfer calls, schedule appointments and update event calendars, arrange staff meetings, handle incoming and outgoing mails and faxes, prepare memos or reports, edit documents. I don't know why we're laughing. It goes on and on and on in the same vein. I just think, and this is the organisation in the States which is telling businesses how to use their assistants. No wonder they're saying they're going to disappear. It's so wrong.
Mean, was this taken from the 1940s? I mean, wow. I mean,
it is embarrassing.
Is the word, Christy. Embarrassing is the word. I feel my toes curling as Lucy was sharing that, and it just seems it seems incongruous.
And so, because here in the United States we have whole departments, and I haven't heard about the Department of Labor, if that's staying or going, but I believe our move, rather than to depend on supposedly, prestigious organizations like the World Economic Forum, is we're going to have to do it from the middle. We need to manage from the middle, and each and every one of us can take some responsibility and as our obligation to speak with the facts to our leaders, to IT, about the reality of the role. Do we need us or do we not need us? And be prepared for a very important and serious conversation about is this needed or not?
Yeah,
it's time. We have to have this conversation.
And we've got I'm going to ask Anna again. Anna, can we try and launch the poll on money? Let's see if we go the next one, and we've got the poll on money, if that's okay with you. If you've got that to launch, that would be awesome. And just, Bonnie, whilst we're launching that, would you just share with us a little bit more around, because I know you've been talking about this for a long time. And I know that this is something that is central to your message that you are sharing with the profession. Tell me why it matters to you so much, and what is one thing you would encourage everyone to do on this call today around money?
Negotiate. We have to stop feeling grateful for the opportunity. I hear assistants saying, I love my job, and using that as a reason to take less money. No, you deserve to love what you do, to be great at it. Your leverage for money is that they don't want to lose you. They do not want to lose you. And if you get told things about salary bands and salary caps, I'm here to tell you that a lot of these salary bands and salary caps are obsolete. And so you need an accurate, detailed job description in writing You do not get if you do not ask. Men ask. 57% of men ask for more money. 7% of women negotiate because we're so grateful to be offered the position. No, no, no. That's not the way anymore. Things are getting more expensive. We've got tariffs all over the world. The supermarket doesn't care how they get their money. They just want their money. And so every assistant on the planet needs to be making the money you deserve. I'm not talking about being greedy. I'm talking about fair market value money for the responsibilities and skills and experience that you possess. So I don't see a poll on the screen. Money is such a hot button issue. What I know is that when women make the money that you deserve, when you're able to negotiate that $20,000 a year raise, and somebody might think, oh, 20,000, that's a big jump. Well, you know what? Not so big a jump if you're making up for 15 years of being underpaid so badly, right?
Bonnie, I've got this desire to share something, and I think what I'm realizing, it's been a moment I've just suddenly realized is actually money and self-esteem are interlinked.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
So we've got to, we can't talk about one independently of the other, right?
No. What happens with a woman when she finally does it? Musters the courage to ask for it and gets it happily. The employer says, oh, I had no idea you were so underpaid. Let's take care of that right now. And it's done. The confidence that comes from that, holy cow. And then to be given investment in ongoing training, which is absolutely necessary in 2025 and going forward. There is no winging it anymore. There is no being self-taught. You can be self-taught, but I talk to Vicki Evans all the time. And there is no magic bullet to understanding technology anymore. Like this profession is changing drastically. So we need to negotiate for the money that you most definitely deserve.
I agree. Okay, we've only got 7 minutes left. Wow, I've got so much that I wanted to cover. Okay, all right. Okay, them and us gap. We can't talk about this profession without talking about the them and us gap. It is, I think things are improving, but I think we do need to talk about that. How do we bridge the gap between the rest of the business and maybe if we talk in really practical terms rather than the frustrations and the challenges, because I have a couple of ideas, I think, but I'd love to hear from Lucy and Bonnie first. How do we start to bridge this gap so there is a sense of one team in businesses? And Lucy, I am going to ask you first, if that's okay.
For sure. And I think it's about narrating your value and talking in outcomes rather than outputs. So it's going back to communication, isn't it? And finding your voice really and showing what you're capable of. But talking the business language. I mean, Bonnie talking about salaries there and not being grateful for what you've got, but understanding the data there so that when you're talking to people about salaries, what you're doing is talking about value exchange. Build the data, use the skills matrix, talk about the value you're bringing to your organization. And be the change. Go show them what you're capable of doing. That communication piece is so important.
Can I just ask on the call, we have a digital show of hands. How many of you say to other people in your organization, I'm sorry, would it be okay if I just grabbed 5 minutes of your time? I'm so sorry, I just need to ask you a question. How many of you honestly will start your sentences with apologizing for your very existence? Now, unfortunately, yes, exactly that. Things like, I'm not sure if this makes sense, or this might be a stupid question, or I kind of think we should, I might not be right, or I'm so sorry to bother you. This is where the gap is created. No executive says that, and you do not need to say that anymore either. You can say things like, I'm following up on, it's really important that we discuss, I'd like to explore something. I recommend that I'd like to thank you for your time. I propose. So this language piece is so critical, understanding the business's objectives, understanding your executive's objectives, and starting to own your space by using executive language is really, really critical to bridging the gap, in my view. Bonnie, to you.
May I just say that leaders need to play a part of this. They need to be an essential messenger at these meetings to say, please speak with Stacy about this. Go to her. Olympia Dukakis used to say to people, I don't know why you're asking me this question. Go to Bonnie. You'll get an answer way faster from her than you will from me. This is about validation from the highest level, because if the team, the direct reports, and other assistants hear straight from the leadership about your value, that will go a very long way. Assistants can't solve this alone. That was the reason I wrote Staff Matters, because we know that the workplace is broken, but no one group is going to be able to fix it alone. Assistant, you're capable, but you don't have the authority or the power. CEOs can't do it alone. Recruiters can't do it alone. HR can't do it alone. We're hearing they're quitting in record numbers. So something's got to give here, folks. We're getting, I think the red alarm bell is going off, and that's going to spell opportunities, I believe, for executive assistants.
Yeah, and criticizing each other is a really quick race to the bottom. We are going nowhere by criticizing each other. It's about collaboration. It's appreciating the similarities, not the differences. And a rising tide lifts all ships. So looking, I think for me, assuming good intent helps me to navigate most of life's challenges. And I think assuming good intent until someone proves you otherwise is so much healthier platform for discussion and improvement and growth than sort of trying to criticize one another. That is a race to the bottom. Now, Anna, I know we've got a last poll. So Anna, if you're able just to share that last poll, that would be brilliant. Amazing. We've got the money poll. No, they've got the money and the confidence poll. Okay, fantastic. So we can just, if we
two
can
for the price of one.
Yes, we've got a lottery on our polls today, so you just don't know which one you're going to get. This is perfect. Okay, all right. So if we can, okay, fantastic. So based on the skills confidence poll, what's your... All right, answer these. We will share them with you afterwards. Now, we are right at the end of today's session, so keep answering these polls, please. We're going to share these answers with you afterwards. And I'd just like to, I'd like to ask you both, if you could whisper one sentence in every ear of every assistant, what would it be?
What do you want?
Well, Lucy, go first, please.
I would be saying that you need to understand that you're not the help, you're the force. Go and own it.
Bonnie, what would you whisper?
And I would say, in the sage words of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, former Supreme Court Justice, she said, fight for the things you believe in and do it in a way that brings people towards you.
And I think I would want to say to all of you is that know that you have the capability to be the architects of your organizational success, and you are more than enough as you are. And that is what I would leave with all of you. And I am so grateful to Lucy and to Bonnie for their wisdom, for their generous spirits and the generosity in sharing an hour with you all today. So please join me in thanking them both so much from the bottom of our hearts. We'll share the recording. We're going to have tons of links. If you haven't bought Lucy and Bonnie's books, I promise they haven't paid me to say this. I genuinely recommend it all the time. Both of these books are critical reading for assistants. And if you want to find your power and you want to find tools, they are packed full in those books. So we'll share loads of links, lots and lots of resources with you after this. And I'm thankful to every single one of you for showing up today. Please share the recording with your organization, perhaps with your executive. Let them know what we're talking about, what matters to you. And have a beautiful rest of your day wherever you are in the world, and a collective breath together. Thank you for being here. Take care, everybody.